Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gene Coltas, presiding member for the Metropolitan Outer Development Assessment Panel meeting this afternoon. I declare the meeting open at 1:03 p.m. In doing so, I acknowledge we are hosting this meeting on the traditional land of the Rajak people of the Noongar Nation. We acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of Western Australia, pay respects to elders past and present, and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters and community. The meeting will be run in accordance with that Standing Orders 2024 under the Planning and Development Assessment Panels Regulations 2011. The meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the DAP website in accordance with Regulation 42A of the Planning and Development Assessment Panel Regulations 2011, and members are reminded to announce their names and title prior to speaking. Panel members may refer to technical devices throughout the meeting to assist them in considering the information before that. Hearing on the panel today are myself, Gene Coltas, presiding member, Councillor Rob Henderson from the City of Swan, and Councillor Jennifer Catalano from the City of Swan. To my left is Deputy Presiding Member Dale Page, and Tony Arias, the Specialist Member. Item 2, we have no apologies. Item 3, no members on leave of absence, and previous minutes of the DAP are on the DAP website. Part B of the agenda, I'll ask all panel members to confirm that they have duly considered all of the documentation within Part B of the agenda and Part B related information by raising your hands. Thank you, that's unanimous. Declaration of interest, there have none at this stage.
Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
I just want to declare that I am a candidate for the state election and that this matter before us has no matter dealings with that. So just to put it on the record that I am a candidate.
Okay, I don't think that requires any determination on whether you appear or not. And was any of these two items considered at council at all?
Not to my knowledge.
Yes, they were.
Well,
Item, the Brabham Tavern was considered at council.
Previously, was it? Okay.
It was, yes.
And
may I just interject?
This is an amendment, so are we talking about the amendment or the original item?
just the amendment.
Oh, okay. No, the amendment wasn't. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, moving on to the item 4.1. This application in Talbot Road, Hazelmere. We have a presenter, Mr. Jared Ross from Taylor Burrell Barnett, in support. Mr. Ross, if you'd like to make your presentation. Mostly we have 3 minutes for your presentation. We have seen your documentation, so if you respect to the item, please.
No problems. Thank you, presiding member. Thank you, panel members. My name's Jared. I'm from Taylor Burrell Barnett. With me today is Brett Shivers from Hesperia. We are presenting what is hopefully a fairly straightforward amendment to the development approval that was granted in November, so a few months ago. So in terms of the amendment proposal, the proposed tenant for the warehouse and workshop has now been announced. Prior to lodging the application, that wasn't able to be announced, so Weir Minerals will be occupying the tenancy. We're seeking some minor amendments to the approved plans just to address Weir's needs and some minor refinements as part of addressing the conditions of subdivision approval. So we have identified the tenant wall signage. We have proposed some incidental structures at the southern lease boundary of the site, being a relocated wash bay and a test facility and some storage structures. We've reduced the floor space for the sandblast and paint booths by 50 square metres each. We've revised the Office 2 layout to improve employee access and egress and amenity in terms of the outdoor area associated. We've added a 50 square metre dock office and we've done some other minor modifications. We are generally supportive of the officer's recommendation, subject to one modification. And this relates to the lighting of signage. So just for the purpose of context, the amendment includes 3 signs. They all relate to the tenant's name. So there is a sign above the Office 1 door facing the western side of the building. It's proposed to be internally illuminated. The 2 larger signs that will be affixed to the warehouse are not proposed to be internally illuminated, but they are proposed to be externally illuminated in the standard way that warehouse sort of signage would be illuminated. There are 2 existing conditions on the development approval that relate to lighting of the development. One requires compliance with the Australian standards, and the other stipulates that the lighting shall not flash or pulsate. We are satisfied with those conditions. They apply to the signage in the same way that they would apply to the broader development. So proposed condition 18, we don't consider to be necessary, and it's inconsistent with our intent around the signage, as the plans state that only the above the Office 1 sign is to be backlit. So what we have proposed is that condition 18 be deleted, and that some annotations be put on the elevations. It's elevation 204C, which is on page 22, relating to the fact that signage above the primary entrance is internally illuminated, but the signage on the warehouse can be illuminated, subject to compliance with conditions 14 and 15. We have discussed this modification with the assessing officer. We understand, subject to them making comment, that they are supportive. But, practically, we think this is a really great development. We're very eager to get moving on it. We think that these modifications are quite minor, and we support the officer's recommendation otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Panel members, are there any questions of Mr. Ross? Councillors? No? Other panel members? Councillor Catalano.
Yeah. How many parking bays are you going to be losing by putting in the new bit on the western edge?
Through the chair, we aren't losing any car parking bays. So we've proposed 119 car parking bays as part of the development approval, with a further 45 bays available to be constructed. The relocation of the wash bay and the testing facility is to an area of approved hard stand. It won't affect any car parking bays.
Okay. What were you going to use the hard stand for previously?
Storage.
Oh, okay. So it was not going to be a shed there previously?
No, it was simply just identified as hard stand.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Any further questions? If not,
Question of staff.
yeah, yes, okay. Questions of the staff. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Chairman. In regard to the size and height of the signage on the buildings, I just want to be clear that I thought we had a signage policy in industrial areas that limited the size of signage. Could you just clarify for me if that is the case? And I thought it was 1 metre.
Do you want me to answer that? Do you want to answer it? Feel free. No, that's no. There is no policy limitation with respect to the size of signage.
Okay, if there is no limitation, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other panel members have questions?
Presiding member?
Yes.
Just, clarification, the applicants indicated that the city may be happy with deletion of condition 18. Could you just comment on that?
The city does not object to the deletion of condition 18.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions of the officers? If not, then we can move on to the item. And in order to do so as a panel, I'll need a mover and seconder. Do I have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Henderson. Seconder. Dale Page. Councillor Henderson, you wish to speak to the item, please? As the mover.
Thank you. There isn't really a lot to say. It's a relatively minor changes, and from my perspective, I'm okay with the condition 18 being deleted, and that's part of can be contained as part of the motion if you wish, Chairman.
Yes, if you want to move that as an amendment to the existing motion, you can do.
I'll move that as that part 18 of the conditions being removed as part of the motion.
So moved. Do I have a seconder? Yes. Dale Page. Okay. Do you wish to speak to that any further, Councillor?
No, I don't need to on that one. Thank you.
Dale, do you wish to speak?
I'm happy to support. The changes don't really affect the overall presentation of the building. Enhances the functionality for the development for the identified tenant, but nothing really further to say. Happy with the deletion of condition 18, given the city is comfortable.
Okay, Councillor Catalano, you wish to speak to the...
I'd like to ask a question first. Is there any chance that I could put up an amendment for a guidance note for marri trees to be planted in the landscaping area?
No, I don't think so. That's not on the agenda, but let's finish discussing this particular amendment to delete condition 18 first. Moved and seconded have spoken. Does anyone wish to speak regarding the amendment to delete condition 18? If not, I'll put that amendment. All in favour? For. Councillor Catalano, are you voting for or against it?
I'm voting against it, thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's 4 for and 1 against. Okay, yes, Councillor Henderson, you're still speaking on the primary motion.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. If there was another amendment, I'm prepared to hear that. At this stage, I don't believe there's much to add. It's quite straightforward in terms of what they want to do, and I support it.
Okay, and as seconder, Ms. Page, you wish to speak to the item?
Nothing further to add.
Nothing further. Anyone else speak to in favour of the motion? Against? Councillor Catalano, you wish to...
Yes, I do. I'd like to speak against it, thank you. Obviously this was, agreed on, and I didn't support the development last year, largely because we can't get any, proper local trees planted on the site. And, I've said this so many times, but I've got to keep saying it because, I see that as my role here. There's got to be trees planted there that provide for, birds and other animals. It can't just be about humans and their industrial activities. It really is time that all decision makers looked at a balanced approach to development against environmental concerns. This development, like so many of the developments in Hazelmere, has got so little tree cover, and basically, collectively, we've just got an accumulation out there of the most horrible, treeless, environmentally hostile developments in what was only just a few years ago bushland between the Scarp and what little is left along the Helena River. It's nothing to be proud of, and I don't support it because I don't believe we should be handing on this to our children and our grandchildren. Without trees, I cannot support it.
Thank you. I'm supporting the proposal. It's appropriate. It's as the responsible authority report says, it's complies with the planning framework. The amendments to the building are rather minor in effect, so I will support the reduction of the overflow parking area and also the signage proposed, and support the overall amendments to the developments. Councillor Henderson has moved it. He wishes to close debate on the item.
Happy to if there's no other debate. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. All right.
Origin, just to clarify,
Yep.
the amendment to delete condition 18, does that include the amendments to the plan?
No,
That
just
Jerry-
deletion of condition 18. So we're just now voting on the substantive motion to approve as amended. All those in favour?
If I can just wrap up.
Sorry. Oh,
briefly.
sorry, councillor, I thought you had.
I apologise. I just wanted to rebut Councillor Catalano's debate. It was not relevant to the matter as the overall development has been approved and that needs to progress. As for the current proposal before us, it is, as you said, minor, and I support that. So thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, I'll put the item as amended and recommended. All those in favour? 4, against? 1. Thank you. That's carried. So, the next item on the agenda, which is the item 4.1, proposed tavern and drive-through liquor store. Well, that's not on there anymore. Just the proposed tavern. And we have a presenter, Mr. Declan Cran from Purpose. Declan, you have 3 minutes to speak to your presentation.
Great, thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, panel members. My name is Declan Cregan. I'm a town planner from Urbis. Urbis is representing the proponent, Australian Venue Code, or ABC, for item 4.2 on the agenda. And obviously this item is Form 2, so we're seeking minor amendments to the approval granted by the Metro out of JDAP in July of 2023. I'll briefly speak to a few of the key items of the proposal, but I'd like to highlight the proposed amendments offer an improved outcome for the site and for the community, and the updated technical advice supports the design changes, meaning the application is worthy of approval. Firstly, I'd like to note that ABC successfully run venues all around the country, including a number here in Western Australia. ABC know their clientele and know how to successfully run their licensed venues. And following the original approval in 2023 for this tavern, ABC were provided the opportunity to become the operators. ABC have a tried and tested model that they run their pubs on, which focuses on their venues having access to outdoor licensed spaces so that people can enjoy the venues in the outdoors. So ABC were interested in operating the venue with a few design changes. The key design changes as part of this application include an increase in the outdoor beer garden area, providing improved outdoor opportunities, removal of the drive-through bottle shop component and removal of the second crossover to Palfrey Street to the south, an increase in the number of parking bays on site, an increase in the maximum number of patrons able to attend the venue, and an improvement in the landscaping presentation, particularly to the public realm and the street. Overall, these amendments offer an improved design outcome for the site. In relation to the key planning considerations, whilst we are increasing the maximum number of patrons that are able to attend the site, we are also increasing the parking available. The updated traffic reporting considers the actual demand for parking bays and confirms that the site operates with a small surplus of bays to meet the typical demand. The venue will infrequently reach maximum occupancy, and this is unlikely to clash with the peak periods of the childcare and the school. And finally, the reconfiguration of the car park to remove the crossover and increase in the landscaping offers a better technical outcome for the site and also a better urban design outcome for the site. In relation to acoustics, the management practices and engineering solutions built into the design will ensure noise requirements are met. And finally, I note that there were again a substantial number of positive submissions in relation to this application. Of the 141 submissions, 84% were supportive. So you don't often hear of such strong support for planning applications, and I think this is worth noting the community support for these amendments. To summarise and conclude, the proposed amendments offer an improved outcome for the site and the key technical considerations have been addressed. We'd like to thank the city for their diligent reporting throughout, and we respectfully request the panel approve this application. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Panel members, does anyone have questions of this presenter? Councillor Catalano, I think your hand was up first.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Why is the height of the plexi fence being reduced?
So this is an acoustic engineering thing. I'm not an acoustic engineer, but my understanding of it is essentially there are a range of additional measures, particularly the roof that's been installed. So basically there are additional noise containing measures and mechanisms as part of the design. So the size of the wall has been reduced as it wasn't required to be as high as it was previously, because we've basically got additional measures in there to contain noise.
Okay. I noticed on page 3 of your report that there wasn't any mention of external noise, measuring of external noise. Point 9, page 3 of your report. Just wondered why that was.
Is that the acoustic report?
I believe so, yeah. It's the one.
James.
Yes, it's about acoustic. You say that as measured from surrounding sensitive receivers, and where also such measured levels do not comply with measures that will be undertaken to achieve compliance. You don't mention that the monitoring of the outside areas is going to happen as well.
Yeah, so it's probably a question for the acoustic consultant, unfortunately. I do know that as part of the condition, there is requirements for, after the development is approved and up and running, there's requirements for reporting basically from outside of the venue to test.
Yeah, I saw that. I just didn't understand why your report didn't include that. So, okay, my last question is, ABC, do you know where, is it ABC? Is that who the proponent is? Who the
Australian Venue Co, so AVC.
Yeah. ABC, yeah, okay. Do you know what other locations they have this kind of tavern facility? Can you tell me, please?
Guildford Hotel is probably the closest one that springs to mind.
Guildford Hotel, okay. Any others?
There's several others, but probably more, off the top of my head, there's probably more sort of city-based venues such as Dirty Nellies and the like.
Such as, sorry?
Dirty Nellies.
Oh, okay. Where is that? Got any idea? I don't know.
The CBD.
In the city. Oh, okay. So not that you're aware of any other suburban venues, tavern venues operated by ABC other than Guildford?
Not off the top of my head that I think.
Okay. Yeah. All right then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Henderson, you had a question?
I do, thank you, Chairman. Condition 3, and it says condition number 4 reads, I would like you to tell me how you think you can, in a practical sense, operate that condition and be able to substantiate any claims that you're over the numbers at a certain time or not.
So can you just clarify this is in relation to the capacity?
Condition 4, I think it was to do with the patron numbers, Councillor Henderson.
Indeed, thank you, Chairman.
Yes, and just to clarify that the question is around how we'll manage the patron numbers after the 10 o'clock curfew, when basically the patron numbers in the alfresco is required to be reduced. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I suppose there's a range of management practice that will be required. It's not uncommon for this to occur throughout venues. Basically, there would need to be signage, there would need to be management from the venue staff to ensure that there's not an exceedance of the maximum number of people in that space. It comes down to a management practice.
Sorry, Chairman, I'll have a question of staff about that when we get there.
Yes, that's fine, thank you. All right, any further questions? Yes, Mr. Arias?
Just Declan, clarification. you haven't made comments on conditions, proposed amended conditions. You're comfortable with what's proposed part of the RAR?
Comfortable with the conditions, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any further questions of the presenter? If not, panel members, do you have questions of the council staff? Councillor Catalano, yes.
Thank you. The Guildford Hotel, what's the proportion of, maximum numbers of people to the parking that's available at the Guildford Hotel?
If you unmuted that.
Yes, I'm.
Through to Mr. Chairman, the Guildford Hotel has a shared cap between the Vaudeville Theatre extension and the hotel proper in the order of, might be something like 790 patrons.
What do you mean, 790?
790 patrons.
Yeah, and how much parking bays have they got? How much parking have they got?
The Guildford Hotel has something like 40 constructed car parking bays. Constructed car parking bays, but I will note that the balance of the area is fully utilised. So the whole of the car parking area at the Guildford is taken up with car parking beyond merely the line marked and sealed areas.
Okay, so that you mean that bit out the back that's just all gravel?
That's right.
Yeah, so that's not really car parking bays.
Not constructed car parking bays and line marked.
Would you say that that's the same size as that'd be roughly the same size as the constructed car parking bays? That unsealed bit at the back of the Guildford Hotel? I mean, It's relevant because I'm just trying to figure out actually how many cars turn up to the Guildford Hotel for the 790 capacity venue.
So the question being?
Yeah, cars. It's about parking, I think, in this particular issue in Brabham.
Sorry, Councillor Catalano, what was the question?
Well, I want to know what kind of parking capacity the Guildford Hotel has. But is that, I guess the thing is, we don't know if they don't have a developed car park that they're utilising. That's something the staff don't know. Is that right?
Two things, Councillor Catalano. With respectfully, I do not see at all the relevance of the inquiries with the Guildford Hotel with respect to this modification of the Brabham Tavern application. But if you are interested in the parking, the actual numbers of cars parking in the Guildford Hotel car park, I can readily get you figures on that. But I don't think.
Well, I just noticed with this. Sorry to hold everyone up, but parking is the real issue here in Brabham, and I just I noticed that even with this amendment will leave us with a 9.3 or something. Yeah, 9.3 people per car parking bay, and I wondered whether Guildford Hotel had a better ratio than that. But if you don't know, that's fine. I just wondered if you know, because there's no other example to compare it with that's been given to us here today.
I know, but no, you're quite correct. I can't give you a comparison on the ratios of car parking at Guildford Hotel and this prospective tavern, which we've got to remember hasn't been built yet. What I would say, though, in relation to parking is that the salient fact is that we need to consider the modifications and the amendments with respect to the parking question, not revisit the overall parking dispensation. And when we do that, the salient fact is that the relative disposition of provision of parking under this proposed amendment is superior to the dispensation of parking already approved under the original approval. And that's what the regulations require us to consider, not to revisit the parking requirement from the original proposal.
Okay, but haven't we got an increase in patrons with this proposal?
We have an increase in patrons, but what I'm saying is when you look at the whole of the application with respect to the parking, noting that there is a removal of the bottle shop component, you actually get a net better disposition of parking provision than the original approval.
Okay, well, okay. Thanks for that.
Thank you, councillor Catalano. Councillor Henderson, you had a question?
Yes, I did. I'm concerned about the parking issue and but I'm also, we'll talk about that later. I'm wondering how the city staff will enforce the patron numbers around the given times under condition 3, which was originally 4 by the look of it, of this. Sorry, there's phones everywhere. It concerns me that we could have many more patrons than are permitted outside of those times. I wonder if staff have got a way of actually enforcing and dealing with it.
Mr. Chairman, if the question is could staff enforce that condition, yes, we could. How readily we could do it, obviously, as it implies, it would require someone to go out there and visit this premises if and when it's built. After 10 p.m, visit the outdoor premises, the outdoor alfresco area, and equip themselves with the same sorts of devices that hotel management utilise in the management of their own patron numbers, or what's colloquially called a clicker, and click the numbers of patrons in the area. If the numbers of patrons in the area exceeded 230, you would have established a breach, and then there would be it would be a breach of the condition, a breach of the scheme. I would also note that in many instances, the Department of Racing, Gaming and Liquor, quite commendably, will often take a close lead and close consideration of any conditions that a local authority places on a licensed premises in terms of its operation. You often see them also mirroring those same conditions. And if you had, through a liquor licence, similar terms and conditions to what you see under the development approval, then you would empower the Department of Racing, Gaming and Liquor under the Liquor Act, the liquor licence, to also take actions on a breach of the patron numbers. It's been a long time since I've been in a premises and observed a liquor inspection by personnel, but maybe they're more adroit at doing these inspections without being observed by the general public. But it does happen. Premises do get fined for breaching their liquor licences in terms of excess numbers, and we can do the same in this instance, albeit it does require some effort to go out there at 10 p.m. To go out there and do a count, but it is not impossible.
Chairman, I think I got a roundabout answer there. My real concern is that the local residents may feel as though they're disadvantaged by large numbers outside the time, and that's something that within the size of this operation is of concern to residents. And I don't believe there's much way of dealing with it other than what Mr. Russell said, but that is a concern.
Thank you. Any further questions by panel members? Yes, Mr. Arias.
Thank you, presiding member. Just a clarification, the proposal was advertised, and in the RER it indicates there were 141 submissions, 22 of these expressed opposition. Do I take it that the balance express support?
That's correct, yes. The balance can either tick on the box that's referred to them, no objection, or conditional support. Either way, it's non-opposition to the amendment.
Which is, in your experience, quite unusual to have that high level of support for a proposal like this.
Let me just say that there was, when this proposal was originally presented to the council and subsequent to the JDAP, there was a very large tranche of community support for a licensed premises in the Tavern region. But equally, there was understandably a quantum of people concerned, as there invariably is with all licensed premises, that proximate residents don't have to put up with antisocial, poor behaviour or disruptive behaviour as a result of the operation of that premises. That will always be the case with licensed premises, but overwhelmingly, those concerns of those in opposition can be addressed if it is a well-managed facility. And obviously, a lot of the residents of Brabham very much welcome what would be the amenity added to their suburb locality with such a premises, yes.
Thank you. Presiding member.
Thank you. Yes, Dale?
Just to follow up to that, I note from the Responsible Authority report, and I wonder if you could just confirm, although there were some objections received to the amendment proposal, most of these relate to the suitability of the land use itself. Is that right? And that's already been covered off with the previous approval?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? If not, thank you. As a panel, we'll now move into debate on the item. In order to do so, I will require a mover and seconder. Do I have a mover for the Responsible Authority recommendation?
I move as per the approval in the documents.
Councillor Henderson moved. Seconded. Mr. Arias. Councillor Henderson, you wish to speak to the item, please.
Yes, briefly. Thank you, Chairman. The original proposal did cause quite a bit of local community discussion, certainly with residents close to the area around noise concerns and proximity to schools and the like. Those were dealt with at the last round. What we see here is, in my opinion, an improvement in the car parking. But just to be clear, I'm on a Facebook page that has been very vocal about this, for and against, and the greater majority are for it. Certainly, a lot of discussion around walking to the tavern because of the fairly dense population nearby. I think the key thing around that is that people, if they couldn't find somewhere to park, would likely walk or ride a bike or whatever. Mind you, I wouldn't want to be riding a bike home if I'd had too many beers, but that's another story. The reality is, though, that I think those supply and demand questions around car parking would make it work, and certainly if it didn't work, the tavern wouldn't get the numbers that it needed. So I'm sure they've done their due diligence in that regard. But what I see here in terms of the amendments, to me, are improvements, and I'm more than pleased to support it as I did last time.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Tony, you wish to speak to the item?
Thank you, presiding member. In my mind, the proposed changes are not significant in the context of the original Form 1 and are appropriate to be considered as a Form 2. The changes do not alter the approved land use from the previous determination, and therefore, in my mind, are capable of being supported. It's noted in the RAR that the proposed changes do comply with, or generally comply with, local and state policies. I did raise the issue of the advertising, and it is unusual to have such a high level of support, nearly 80%. So I think that reflects that the proposed use is appropriate and there's good community support. Even though there has been a few issues raised in terms of potential amenity impacts, I'm satisfied that the conditions proposed, particularly around noise and traffic, provide an opportunity to manage any adverse amenity impacts. So on that basis, I'm prepared to support the RAR recommendation.
Thank you. Any other panel member wish to speak to the item in support or otherwise? Dale, sorry, Councillor Catalano did have a
I'd like to speak against, thank you. But you go ahead if you want to speak in support.
support.
Okay, thank you. Look, I feel removing the bottle shop component will not negatively impact on the amenity of the area. The increase in patrons for the tavern really just corresponds to the increase in tavern floor area, and I don't think the increase in the size of the tavern would alter the impact of the facility on the surrounding area. The limitation on the number of patrons in the outdoor area to ensure compliance with the noise regs is noted and supported. And I think for me, that's a salient point. How many people are outside and that condition around it is really to manage the impact of noise. So if a noise complaint is received by the city, and there are fewer people in that outdoor area, the city will need to respond to that and deal with the operator and figure out why that is. If there are more people in that outdoor area and it has no impact on noise, then that shouldn't actually be an issue. So it's really noise that's a factor there, and that's actually quite easy to respond to and to measure from the city's compliance perspective. So for me, it's not really about numbers. The condition is appropriate because you need something to control it and to fall back on, but it's about adherence to the noise regs in terms of that number. So I support that. The other changes proposed are minor and actually enhance the proposal in my view, particularly the sizable increase in landscaping across the site. That is to be commended. And although objections were received, I note that most of these relate to the suitability of the land use. That's already been approved. That's not up for grabs. They could default back to that approval right now if they chose to. And the parking shortfall has reduced. So that is a positive aspect as well. So happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Catalano.
Well, whilst it's good to see that the bottle shop has been removed, which basically removes all that traffic from what is essentially a residential area of the suburb. I just want to remind you, this is not located down near the shopping centre. It's not located down near the park. It's not located. It is located next to a childcare centre in the middle of the residential area. And whilst some people may walk, generally speaking, they'll be the people that are adjacent, on the streets adjacent. Everybody else is going to drive their car because that is what people in Brabham do. The fact is that the train station is 3 kilometres away from this proposed facility. Now, 500 patrons, is that 500 patrons from the residential areas around the tavern? I doubt it. I doubt it very much. This is going to be big utes parked up on verges, parked up on the footpath. And honestly, I can tell you now, I'm the ward councillor for that area, and we get endless. The city gets, and I myself get absolutely endless complaints about parking. There is just not sufficient parking in this suburb. It wasn't designed that way. And to actually rely on pretty much, really at the end of the day, for 500 people, street parking, it's just not going to work. This needs to be, this facility, whilst I understand people in Brabham really seriously want the facility, it needs to be down near the shopping centre where there is available parking. This is going to be a nightmare for the city of Swan. Whilst people want the tavern and really want it to happen, when the nightmare of the parking eventuates, everybody will be wringing their hands and saying, how did this happen? And I will not support that. I will not be one of the people that let it happen. So I completely oppose any increase in patrons. I don't think the extra parking is sufficient. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll speak to the item and support it. I think that previous speakers have already addressed the issues of noise, which is probably one of the primary ones. Use is not an issue in considering these amendments because the use is already approved. And I think the parking situation, there is some on-street and some off-street parking provided. And I tend to agree that if there is a problem in the area, the local residents will highlight that both in terms of the numbers internally and also noise and parking issues. And once again, of course, these sorts of things fall upon the local authority, the police. together with the liquor licensing director and his inspectors. But well-run facilities tend to operate well, and the operators tend to enforce their own requirements under their liquor license. So I'm supportive of it. That being said, everyone's had their say. Councillor Henderson, I'll get you to close debate on the item if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you. And I do believe everything's been covered in respect of the issues around local residents. Yes, there were local residents in particular, as I said earlier in my opening debate, that expressed concerns about this. Just to finish up, the overwhelming wish for this to come together is out there in the community. They've been waiting a couple of years now, and I see regularly that they're basically saying, when's it going to happen? So I look forward to the proponents getting it together, but more so that they do comply, and we don't end up having to throw the police and in other words the city or the liquor licensing at them. But to be clear, if those things do happen, I'll be backing the community in regard to any non-compliance. So I support the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll put the matter to a vote now. All those in favour of the recommendation? 4 against, 1. Thank you. The matter is resolved in the affirmative. Okay, next item on the agenda is item 5, SAT reconsiderations. There are none. Part C of the agenda, item 1, SAT application and Supreme Court appeals. They're all listed, none of them are City of Swan. And item 2 on part C is the meeting closure. I'll close the meeting at 1:50 p.m. and thank all participants. Thank you.
Thank you.